Thank you, Mr. Ken Vijayakumar. Architect Nilooshi Eleperuma is currently a partner at Iconcast Chartered Architects and an architect at Design Group 5 International. She apprenticed with architect Madhura Premathilaka at Team Architrave, Colombo, and worked with Atlantis Architects in the Seychelles prior to forming Iconcasts. She has been awarded academic awards, including Sri Lanka Institute of Architects Gold Medal for the highest overall GPA for B.Arch at University of Moratuwa and Best Performance at the SLIA Part 3 examinations. She completed her Bachelor of Architecture at the University of Moratuwa, attaining a first-class honors in 2009. Her presentation is on this year's SLIA Forum theme, Architecture for Wellbeing, based on a project recently concluded by Iconcast Chartered Architects, which receives this year's Excellence in Design Award from SLIA. It's my pleasure to have architect Nilooshi Eleperuma on stage.
Thank you and good evening all. So it's a short presentation, you have to pay attention for only a little while. It's about the subject or the theme of this year's SLIA Forum. So in this post-COVID times, we all know how important our well-being is, especially at home. So architecture is not only a visual art and science, not merely to create an object that is beautiful to look at. So it says design is not just what it looks like. Design is how it works. This is the case for all forms of design, whether you design a phone or clothing. It's especially true for architecture. As the buildings we design, then they later on alter the environment we live in. We must therefore use architecture like a tool to solve the problems of our environment. How can we use architecture like a tool? So we're going to look at how this is possible with a project we recently completed. So this site is located in Talahena, Malabe. It's a 19-perch land. Despite the vicinity to green paddy fields, 3 sides of the site were contained by 2-storied houses, and the access road was facing the west. So this proposed home was to become the residence for a young family with working parents, and they wanted a house with a relaxing ambience. They both drive to Colombo for work from their home at Talahena, and from the onset they both wanted an extent of privacy that would still allow them to enjoy the outdoors. And the idea of a courtyard house on this site was born. So essentially the site was like this, and we placed the building without it touching the periphery. So the built form is defined standalone, isolated from its boundaries, retaining an individuality. So this is about the appearance. This is how it looks. Then we contained an outdoor space inside the built mass of the building. So this is how it works. When you place a courtyard inside and then achieve single bay spaces between outside, inside, and outside again, those spaces become they give access to natural ventilation and daylight. So you get to connect with the outdoors inside the home. So there's a self-sustained vegetative aesthetic to look within one's own garden and up at the sky. So the ground floor had two zones, the living areas and the service areas. There's little penetration between the two zones. The living areas are organized around the gardens and the courtyard. So in order to make this work, we have stacked all of the services, the maids areas, the kitchens, the service entry from the road all the way to the rear yard is contained in a narrow strip so that that area of the house can work, perform efficiently and function the rest of the house. This can also be closed off from the rest of the house so that the dog they have at home can be in this area when they have guests. So once you do that, the rest of the site is available for us to lay out the living areas of the house. The dry kitchen, the dining, the living, the parking, the guest bedroom, all of that is then open to both the courtyard and the garden on two sides. So sight lines are considered important. One enters the garden and then enter the building. At the narrow entry with the low ceiling height, one is able to see the rear perimeter of the site. The total depth of the site becomes visible at the point of entry. So the courtyard is used to connect the spaces the family would most spend their time. Having a quick snack, watching TV, reading a book in the lounge, play in the garden or courtyard, they are connected in a single line of sight. So the courtyard is a multi-level asset connecting between spaces. This simple spatial formation allows for an active remake of user engagement. So the first floor spaces are also arranged around the courtyard so that the more common activities are adjacent to the open space. So as opposed to a conventional courtyard, we've converted the ground level circulation corridors surrounding the courtyard to vertical circulation of a staircase, engaging with the multiple levels. So in doing so, we had to make sure that the staircase would still be able to serve its essential purpose of circulation, protecting it from the tropical rain. So all of the spaces connect with each other and the courtyard, physically borrowing space from each other as well as visually relating them. The seamless interaction of inside and outside enhances the environment air quality, the daylight illumination, the naturally ventilated thermal conditions, and it's a pleasing vegetative aesthetic. These factors contribute to well-being. So this is how we achieve well-being using architecture as a tool. See, if in this image you can see where the dry kitchen sink area is. It's open to the courtyard through an opening. It's no longer boring for you to do the dishes. You can look at what's going on in the courtyard, and through the screen in front of you, you can see anybody coming into the house. You can see if your child is playing in the garden. So the courtyard has a small opening at the double height slab level. This opening is relatively small compared to the footprint of the courtyard. This is because we were conscious of the wet area on the ground level as opposed to the opening that was left for the plants. So this central open to sky volume, it promotes natural stacked ventilation throughout the year. So how it works is the single bay spaces have a breeze that run across from outside via the courtyard. So this is the stack that forms, and all of the vegetation that's in the courtyard and outside in the garden contributes to evaporative cooling of the stack cycle. So larger volumes of common spaces in the house are naturally ventilated, minimizing the consumption of energy with passively conditioned thermal comfort. So the structure of this house is a regular reinforced concrete column beam frame with large spans at parking and living levels. The slab soffits are designed with upstand beams, managing the levels of the roof terrace for planting and drainage, while the lower level enclosures are wall-on-wall, discreetly incorporating the structure and plumbing. Excuse me, sorry. Minimizing the ceilings, arriving at a clean and continuous soffit plane, forming minimal space. The neutral finishes with the minimum expression in geometry and details. So you can see how daylight falls into this space to create some drama. And the same space at a different time of the day, it has a different ambience. So the face to the road was west facing. So we've done a double skin facade where externally you have a fixed timber screen and internally you have pivoted glass panels where you can filter the sun with the timber screen and open the glass panels for ventilation on sunny days. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.